What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the Bottom Line on Sports. A little conversation we like to have every week where the intersection of sports and money intersect.
Well said.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging with us. I was shocked this week, dog. Got to tell you. And I don't know why schools keep doing this. I realize Mike Elko and Texas A&M are 9-0 for the first time in school history. I realize that. I realize it's a program, let's be honest, that's underachieved over the years. Why you got to get that man a 6-year extension? He just showed up to last year. This is year 2. They've already got him a 6-year extension in addition to whatever he signed. I don't get it because this, my friend, is how you ended up paying Jimbo Elliott $76 million to go away. Even if people want him, we'll give you a little more money and give you no more years.
Yeah, look, I think signing him to an extension now is kind of crazy because who's to say that the first half, the way Texas A&M played last weekend, where they were trailing South Carolina by 27, isn't how they're going to play all of next season. You just don't know. And then you're stuck with a massive payout of this guy down the road.
That's the part that gets me. Like, I understand, like, maybe you thought he was going to Penn State or somewhere. And I will say we need to wait till all the details come out. But there's a way. I don't mind giving you more money. I don't want to give you more years. That's where I think people make the mistake. You can have more money. I mean, Texas A&M, University of Texas, they print money. They got more money than they could ever spend in 10 lifetimes. So I'll give you as much money as you want. But I don't want to tie it up in years, because I want to be able to get out in case you revert back to being Texas A&M in 2 more years.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. If you look at a lot of these college contract extensions, Elko's goes through 2031,
Yeah.
as does, I think, James Franklin, who signed. Looks like he's going to coach at Virginia Tech. His contract looks like it goes through 2031. These are long-term contracts, and 6 years in college football is a long time. That is 2.5 turnovers of rosters essentially over that time. So you don't know what you're going to get.
No,
you don't know what you're going to get, particularly in the era of the transfer portal. That's why I tend to agree with you. I think the 6 years is crazy. But what's also interesting is that 2031, 2032 is the same year that ESPN's TV rights to the college football playoff expires. I wonder if there's a connection there.
In the sense of, I want my contract to expire so that when this new TV money comes in, I can ask for $1 zillion instead of $1 trillion.
Yeah, I think it might be pegged to performance in the college football playoff, because that's where the big money is ultimately down the road. It means that if I'm a coach, I'm going to be judged not by whether I won the conference. I'm going to be judged on whether I performed in the college football playoffs.
Right.
And if I'm doing well in the college football playoffs and I'm a coach and I see that the massive television contract is becoming even more massive following 2031, I might be in a position to ask for more money.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think, it runs both ways. And it depends on whether you're at a school like Ohio State and Alabama or whether you're at another type of school, meaning coaches, just like you said, are now going to be judged on the playoff. The problem with the playoff is what? There's only one winner at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take it, even if you take it a little less, even if you're a little more conservative, and you go, okay, let's say 5 years from now, there's either 12 or 16 teams that get to play for it. Okay? Everybody else that ain't one of them 12 to 16 teams, you had a bad year. Now, here's the difference. When it was 30 bowls or 35 bowls, 70 teams had a pretty good year. Hey, we're in the bowl game, baby. Pretty good year. Now, that number's been cut to 12 or 16 who had a pretty good year, which really means to me it's a whole lot more people going to get fired because you couldn't get us to the playoff. We got to find a coach who can. And like you said, the guys who get to the playoffs, I need some of that playoff money.
I think that's totally fair. The other thing too, is you say that is the college football playoff had 4 teams, for the last 10 years prior to last year. Uh,
Right.
it was very difficult to make the Final Four. It was just very difficult. So it wasn't, coaches weren't penalized as much for not making the college football playoff because there were only 4 teams. It was just very difficult to make, and coaches were not penalized. You could have an 11-1, 12-1 season and not make it,
Yeah, it's not our fault. The
Yeah, it's
metric
not right.
screwed us.
Now you're in the tournament at the end of the year. And when you're in the tournament, you're playing the best teams. And if you perform poorly among the best teams, your job is in peril. And look no further than James Franklin. He couldn't win a big game.
Right.
And now he couldn't win a big game in the regular season. He got a relatively easy run in the playoff last year, but once he reached the semis in the playoff, he facing a much a team of comparable talent, he couldn't make it, and then he ended up obviously having a terrible there this year, and Penn State letting him go.
No, I think the thing about it is that's going to be the hard thing for people to do. If another example is University of Texas right here at 3 losses. It was a very interesting interview Steve Sarkisian had the other day, and Kurt Bowles, longtime columnist in Austin, who now works for the Houston Chronicle, asked a question, and I'm paraphrasing. He said something to the effect of, "Sark, how are you dealing with the underachievement this season?" Now that's kind of a loaded question, but Sark bit back with, "According to whose standard?" Now that was the complete wrong answer because, like, dog, come on, you're not supposed to lose 3 games this year. And he said, "Well, you were picked preseason number 2, and now you're not in the poll." He's like, "Well, maybe we shouldn't have been picked preseason number 2." But the bottom line is, he's getting salty because why? This is what happens when you fail to meet expectations, when you fail to get to the tournament, which they're not going to make it. This is what people start saying, like, "What happened to you?" Now, had they in the bowl system, okay, fine, you're still going to a nice bowl on New Year's Day because you're Texas. It ain't happening now, and more heat is coming.
It's the bowl system. It's the fact that there were only 4 teams in the playoffs before, and can you imagine, just as we're Ohio State guys, can you imagine if there you go, if Ohio State had a 3-loss season? I'm not sure. I'm not sure people in Columbus would even be able to function.
Hey, brother, if you looked at that schedule next year, it may be coming.
Yeah, I saw like the
rugged.
Yeah, it's a brutal schedule next year. But anyway, this year's looking pretty good. What I also think was interesting about the college coaches, what's happening with college coaches right now is that Franklin, who signed with Virginia Tech, his buyout was about $49 million. But because he signed with Virginia Tech, Penn State's only paying him out $9 million,
which is nothing.
Which is nothing in the grand scheme of things. I wonder if that changes the dynamic for Penn State and who it's going to hire. Does that give them more money, or is there just such a flood of money that they're going to pay whoever they think is the right person, whatever amount of money they want?
I like to say, man, there's a cost of doing business. No, I mean, there just is.
Yeah.
If you're Penn State and you want a proven elite coach, whoever you deem that to be, you're going to have to pay that person $10 to $11 million a year. That's what it costs. Now, if you want a young guy who hasn't really done it and you think he's the next one, then you can probably pay that person $6 or $7 million. But if you want the established Lane Kiffins of the world, it costs $10 to $11 million.
You think Lane Kiffin's going to stick at Ole Miss or not?
Well, see that.
Because he's not going to leave Ole Miss for the money. He's going to get money wherever, he's going to get money wherever he goes. He got a good extension from Ole Miss. I mean, he's going to get money. Yeah.
It's a fascinating question. And I can't tell if he's being, he's doing all this on purpose. He had some long, he took he's big on social media. He took a picture of some page in a book that talked about the decision-making process, and he just left it out there, which was brilliant at one level. You know what he really has to decide, man? And everybody, me, you, Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban. Everybody has to decide this at some point. What really makes you happy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, like, what makes you happy? If you're really happy at Ole Miss, like, it's great. I really don't have nothing to complain about. Then
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is that Ole Miss is in great position to make the playoff this year.
Well, here's the question. This is the question Lane Kiffin's probably asking himself. And I can't fault him for asking this question. The question is, I know for a fact, you can win a national championship at Florida and you can win the national championship at LSU. I do not know for a fact that you can win one at Ole Miss. Meaning, and I don't know how Ole Miss has been paying for everything he wants, but you know, LSU Stadium is. You can make more money. You can create more revenue for all the stuff that you need to do to win at Florida or LSU. And LSU is more attractive because you get Florida, you got to deal with Miami, Florida State, and everybody else. At LSU, it's just you, and you're going, and the kids are loyal to you, and so you're going to get 95% of the players who come out of Louisiana. And so it's just a matter of whether because the goal is to win national championship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you think you can win one at Ole Miss? Because if you do, you're God. You are a God. You have a statue. They'll never fire you. You're the Bear Bryant of Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
There's something attractive about that.
I agree.
Because at LSU, you trying to do what Nick Saban did and Ed Orgeron. I mean, and at Florida, it's always about Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
At Ole Miss, it's just about you and what you can create. And so, I had that. I mean, let me rephrase that. I didn't have a similar decision, but I was deciding at one point whether to go to ESPN, which was the new frontier, the bigger and more money, or stay at the Dallas Morning News, where I was a columnist. I'm homegrown. I'm a former intern. I can be here forever. I'm never going to get fired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Never. And I thought about it long and hard, and finally I said, okay, let me just see what's out there. I went to LSU because I wanted to win a national championship.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with either decision. I think it's interesting that apparently Ole Miss has said, hey, Doc, you need to decide
this weekend, basically. This weekend.
What's up? Because we're not going to go back and forth forever.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that ultimatums ever work.
No. And the coach has, I think the coach has Kiffin has all the power here. I think, I think this is you're right. This is a very personal decision. In some ways, if you go and win a national title at Ole Miss, it's on you. You've done it. You have created something that nobody else has. And it is an amazing achievement. And if you go to LSU or Florida, there's probably a chance you're going to win a national title there, and you'll be one of many or one of several that does that. So I'm always of the opinion. I always go back to and I'll screw up the quote, so I'll try to give you what I sort of the sort of fundamental meaning of the quote. Mario Andretti, the famous race car driver, used to say, they asked him what makes you so good, and he said, when I'm something along these lines. He said, when I'm driving, when I'm out of control, I'm not particularly I'm good, but I'm not that good. When I'm in control, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But it's when I'm slightly out of control, that's when I'm good. So I always think any sort of move that one makes, if you're lucky enough to have these opportunities, find a situation where it's slightly out of control, where you're slightly uncomfortable. And I think those are the situations often where you find out just how good you are at whatever particular field you're in. So if I were Lane Kiffin, and again, I'm certainly not Lane Kiffin, I would stay at Ole Miss because I would be slightly uncomfortable at Ole Miss, but boy, I know that if I could pay it off at Ole Miss, that's a very big deal.
Yeah, no, I get that, man, and I'm intrigued to see where he goes. The other thing is, in my opinion, you're never going to get fired at Ole Miss. You're going to get fired in Florida. You're going to get fired. You're going to get fired. It's just a matter of whether it's 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
6 years, 2 years, whatever. You're going to get fired. Ole Miss, you ain't never getting fired. So, bottom line for me, they got to deal with these coaches and these contracts because they're out of control. And I don't know if they're ever going to get them back in control.
Yeah, but bottom line for me is you're going to have to pay the coaches, and it's only going to get more expensive. You might as well pay them, but I think we'll see the terminus of these contracts still around 2031, 2032, at the same time as the rights to the college football playoff, television rights to college football playoffs expire.
Yeah, I see he snuck in another one of them Duke NBA words, terminus of the
Yeah,
contract.
I was when we were talking, I was using the term coterminous, yeah, which is a terrible term to use. It sounds like a disease, you know. So,
Hey man, I was reading something this week, and it took me a little bit aback for two reasons. One is I was a big Under Armour guy for a long time. Matter of fact, I wore an Under Armour sweatshirt the other day. In part because Nike, I was always a Nike guy, but Under Armour used funkier color schemes than Nike, non-traditional color schemes, and that's what drew my attention. So I was an Under Armour guy, and I read the other day that Steph Curry and Under Armour severed their relationship,
mm-hmm,
which I didn't realize had been going on for 13 years. But
mm-hmm.
more important than that to me, he said something about the Curry brand, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And it
Yeah,
dawned on me that they did. You can't have a dude with a lifetime contract that's supposed to be worth $1 billion, yet your marketing is so bad that a person like me is like, "What is the Curry? Is that like supposed to be the answer to the Jordan brand?" Which is fine if it is, but the
yeah,
marketing on it has been
yeah,
so poor
yeah.
that I had never heard of it.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Again, I don't want to cast aspersions on companies or people, but the Under Armour brand has been so poorly run in the last 10 years, and they had such an incredible opportunity with Stephen Curry when he signed with them 10 years ago. His shoe in, I think, 2015 or 2016, when his first signature shoe came out, that was a big deal. And as Jacques, as you know, my kids were big basketball players. You know, despite their
The
father's lack of
genetics.
athletic ability. Yeah, they were big basketball kids. They had to have Curry sneakers at one point. They just had to.
Really?
Yeah,
They,
it was. They had an opportunity. It was one of the few opportunities to really kind of encroach upon Nike and Jordan brand, and they didn't do it. They ended up having a disaster of a shoe release. I can't remember which one it was, where it was considered like a hospital shoe, one of the Curry releases. I think it was 2017, 2018. I don't recall exactly.
uh,
It, and it was so badly done. They had the opportunity. They had a transcendent player in Steph
yes.
Curry, a player who changed the game in the same, not in the same way, but
No, he
in an
changed
analogous way
it.
as Jordan.
Yeah. No, they screwed that thing up. Now, just for the record, my dude was all about KDs. We had to get new KDs every time we got straight A's. Dad, can I get some KDs?
Uh,
So he was all about the KDs. But, when you're talking about shoes, man, it made me think, and I went and did a little bit of research because, I am a journalist, if nothing else.
that's what you do. Yeah.
And I went back and I looked up, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys with the biggest shoe deals who are current NBA players. Um, and the question is, how many of those guys are under 30?
Oh, I would say that let's think about it. I'm sure Jordan's one. I'm sure KD is. Do you count Jordan as one? I think Jordan is one. I think
No,
Kate.
Jordan. I don't count Jordan because he don't play. These are
Okay.
active players.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be Harden, KD, Steph Curry. Uh, I'm not even sure who else it would be over age 30. Who am I missing?
No, I said, yeah, no, under 30.
Oh, under 30. I don't even know. Who is it? Wemby is probably one.
He's
Uh,
probably on the move, but no, he doesn't have one of the top
Jokic,
deals yet.
not Jokic, Luca. I don't even know.
No, and this story came out, and these are the guys who I think Luca must be on this
He's
list,
got
but
to be.
he should be, but this list doesn't have him on it, and this was done this year. But according to them, um, the guys with the biggest shoe deals, there's only one guy under 30 on this list. But I think there's two because Luca's got to be on this
Who,
list.
who- who's under?
Zion is the other guy.
Oh, right, right,
These
right.
are the guys with the most lucrative shoe deals.
Yeah,
It's LeBron at 40 million. I mean, LeBron at a billion.
yeah. Well, of course, I can't believe I forgot. Well, of
Uh,
course, LeBron. Yeah,
uh, KD at 21 million.
yeah.
Steph Curry's his deal was at 20. Harden and Zion were at 15. Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, Giannis were all at 10 or 11.
Hmm.
So was Klay Thompson, Dame Lillard, Chris Paul.
Yeah.
My point being, it seems to me like the shoe deals are going the way of the dinosaur because I don't know that kids are looking at players specifically to see what signature shoe they're wearing and the way it used to be with KD and LeBron
Yeah.
and I don't know because if you look at the numbers over here, all these dudes are old. Chris Paul is 40, Klay Thompson's
Hmm.
35,
Hmm.
Dame
Hmm.
30. They're all old. They're
Hmm.
all on their way out, and there's
Hmm.
no young guys from a shoe deal perspective coming in and take their spot.
Well, I think it's probably a combination of a couple of things. One, those are probably legacy deals. These deals are probably long-term legacy deals, so those are the ones in place. I think current deals now are structured very differently. They may be structured as they may be structured paying people in stock. They may be structured paying
Yeah.
people more as a percentage. I think that's a chunk of it. But I think sort of the broader trend you hit on, which is that shoes right now are, and they have become really over the years, it was initially kind of performance, but it went really rapidly to a fashion statement. If you bought a shoe, you bought it for fashion, not so much for performance. You bought it for fashion. And the fashion trendsetters in the 2010s and even up until 5, 6 years, maybe 10 years ago, were the basketball players, were the
Right.
athletes. But those shoe influencers now, the people who are influencing shoe sales now are online influencers just as much as athletes now. And I think that's a function of what's happening. The other thing too is that, going back to the Curry thing, we talked about this a little bit sort of off camera. What I think's fascinating about Curry is in the Curry sneakers and shoes, if you look at the secondary markets of the world, like GOAT and StockX, the Curry shoes have no value in the secondary market. There's no demand for them. Where there is demand is for shoes that have, sort of the iconic Jordans, the iconic LeBrons. Those shoes have huge secondary market value. The Currys don't. Why is that? Because they're fashion, and that's another thing that, Under Armour missed. But I think that's a function of what's happened with the shoe contracts now because sort of on the continuum of performance to fashion, it's far more over to the side of fashion. And if I'm a
Yeah.
young person and I'm looking to say, where am I going to get my, sort of who am I going to follow for fashion? They're probably going to lean more toward an influencer maybe than they are an athlete these days.
I think that's that, and here we are again talking about the impact of social media.
Hmm.
Because before social media, you got your fashion off of NBA highlights off of ESPN.
Exactly.
What is Allen Iverson wearing to the game? What are the guys,
Hmm.
wearing to the game? Um, Now that's interesting because it may flip in the next 2 or 3 years, and here's why. What's the latest trend now? The latest trend is now, let me see what you're wearing to the game. Whether it's WNBA players, NBA players, NFL players, it's all about let me shoot you and take video of what your outfit is before you show up.
Sort of that walk in the tunnel
Right.
beforehand, that sort of, this was sort of a Russell Westbrook thing. He kind of was the guy who
Yeah, yeah,
pioneered
yeah.
this. Yeah.
And so now it can flip because now you can see certain athletes can become influencers because now we're checking to see what their fit is before every game. So it may be the cycle of influencing, but it's definitely the impact that social media has had on it. And I was trying to think. I just don't know if the shoe if the shoe deal is what it used to be. I
It's
mean, I
not.
know every player wants a signature shoe. I don't know if the companies want to do that because I don't know if it does them any good.
Yeah, it's not. I think in order for any player to have a signature shoe, he has to be or she has to be so iconic that that's when they're going to get that signature shoe. I just don't think that's going to happen anymore. But what I do think is going to happen potentially is if I'm a Steph Curry or if I'm a player who Steph Curry's the example with Steph Curry is he's starting the Curry brand. If I'm a Steph Curry, I can start my own brand now. You
Well,
know,
yeah.
I don't need a shoe company. It's like media. Like before, when you and I were growing up in the world of media, we had to go to you had to go to a newspaper. I had to go to CNN, then I went to NBC and CNBC and all that. We went for the big brands, and that's because that's what you did, and that's where you had the most impact.
Right.
Now you may not. And sort of the analogy with sports stars now is you may be better off doing something on your own, creating your own brand. You may actually that might actually be more lucrative for you.
No, and Steph Curry, he talked a little bit about that, doing some of his own things right now. Um, and we'll talk about this another day. It's the same concept from Jaden Daniels, quarterback with Washington. He's talking about he was doing something this week where he's got like his own media company now, and he's going to start producing his own content through his own media company.
Mhm.
Which my first thought was, where your mama gonna be?
Yeah.
But but
But that's been tried before. If you remember the Players Club with the Derek Jeter, I forget who else was behind it. It's been tried before, and that can kind of be okay. It kind of can't. You've also seen that be detrimental to your guy Micah Parsons. I think the fact that he had a podcast actually hastened his departure from Dallas as much as anything else. So I think if you manage it properly,
right,
maybe. And Jaden Daniels, by all accounts, seems to be like he's like a 40-year-old trapped in a 22-year-old body. I mean, he seems like the savviest guy out
right.
there. So he's probably going to get it right. But I can't say everybody's going to get it right.
No, bottom line, man, Under Armour missed the boat, and I don't think it's ever coming back.
Yeah. Bottom line for me, shoes are and basketball shoes and sports shoes are becoming they're much more fashion than they are performance these days. And the impact of athletes being the sponsors or the endorsers of them is going to be far less important than it is social media influencers in the future.
Now, before we get into Ohio State, I thought I would share something with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the road this week. I'm going to Vegas. Hope
Uh-oh.
hope not to lose my shirt
Yeah.
or my pants. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
going there with Anscape to cover Sheduer Sanders' debut, full
Now,
debut,
now for
starting
the
debut.
yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Jacques wrote a book. Was it 2 years ago or last year? I can't remember when it came out.
Came
Was
out
it
in October 2023.
October?
Deion,
So about
Coach
2 years.
Prime, Deion Sanders and the Making of Men.
Great book. Yeah, you can get it and you can get it anywhere. Great book. You spent like a long time basically
I spent
embedded with Dion, and so I'm sure you were really close to Shedeur during that time.
Yeah, matter of fact, it's interesting because I had some great conversations with Shedeur his first year in Colorado because he had seen me around for a couple of years. And so then we got to Colorado. He was very at ease, talking to me. And, we just had great conversations about, life as a quarterback in Colorado and then, life as a quarterback trying to win with your dad being Deion Sanders.
Hmm.
But he's making his starting debut Sunday. And he's a very interesting story because to me, he's interesting because I just got to tell y'all, never has a fifth round draft pick commanded so much attention. Um, and to me, the question, if I dig deeper, is why. Now, let me tell you something. We're going Anscape. We're going. Why do you think Anscape is going? Because there's several of us making the trip doing it, and we're going to cover it from several different angles. It's because he draws numbers.
Sure.
He does numbers because people are very curious about him. And I'm not like, there's some curiosity because he's Deion's son. He's got his own charisma. There's some curiosity because half the people out there think he can play, and he got screwed by the NFL, going from what most people thought was going to be a first-round pick and dropping all the way to the fifth round. And then some people think he's just a product of daddy ball. And if his dad hadn't been his coach his entire life, he never would have gotten all these opportunities. Obviously, I've probably seen him play more than anybody else, given that I saw almost all his games at Jackson State and almost all his games at Colorado. He's a very talented guy. He's got the one thing you want in the NFL, which is accuracy. Like, he puts it where it's supposed to go. He's an intelligent guy. Like any guy, he's got a couple bad habits. He stays in the pocket too long, searching for the big play.
He runs backwards a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to stop that.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
But when you think about it, he should be good enough to play. But we'll see. And so I think, the we'll see part is why so many people, he's such a polarizing player. As he was saying, I haven't even done anything. It's not even my fault.
Here's what I think about Shedeur, right? I think if Shedeur was drafted by a team that wasn't the Cleveland Browns or wasn't the New York Jets, and that it had either a head coach with a very strong offensive background or a very strong offensive coordinator, I think Shedeur would be a success. I think if you put Shedeur in Minnesota, for example, right now with Kevin McConnell, and he'd spent the first half of the season, as a watching JJ McCarthy or whoever was playing for, I don't even remember who's playing for, or what's Carson Wentz.
Right.
And he was in the starting role in Minnesota. I think he would do really well because you've got, it's a very underrated skill for NFL quarterbacks is accuracy. And he's got the accuracy. He can be coached out of, as you point out, the bad habits. Me as a viewer of him, that's what I think. I think he got drafted into the wrong place as much as anything else.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I've been a big believer for a long time that organizations make or break quarterbacks.
100%.
And so it matters where you get drafted. And you can get drafted to a place, man, and the moment you get drafted there, your career is basically ended because you can't overcome the bad decisions that the organization will make, be it coaching, be it player acquisition. I mean, you just can't overcome it. And so it matters who gets drafted by. There's a reason why he's the 41st starting quarterback in the last 30 years.
Of course.
Which is by far the most in the National Football League. Now, that being said, like a lot of us, you don't get to choose your opportunity. So he has opportunity. This week, he got a full week of practice. He's going to get all the reps. And so what you should see this week.
But wait. Most importantly, he's going to play the Raiders. So that's even better.
Dude, yeah.
They're awful. They're terrible. They're awful. Yeah.
And I don't even know if they're still playing the way Dallas ran through them on Monday night. But here's the thing for him. He's got two goals, or he should have two goals as a player. Number one, don't lose the game, which means it's okay to punt, no turnovers, no bad interceptions, really don't take a lot of sacks, get rid of the ball. And number two, can you flash? Can you show 2 or 3 plays that has people going, see, if you had more time, we could develop this. And then, if you want to be overly optimistic, you could say, well, if he plays well, 20 out of 34, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, then you make it hard for them to get a job back to Dylan.
You can't. I mean, Dylan Gabriel has done nothing to keep that job.
Right, but you gotta take it.
Yeah,
that's right. It's like boxing.
Yeah,
it can't be close.
Yeah,
you have to take it.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people have pointed this out. I don't know how much of it is their internal bias, and so I'm really going to pay attention to it as much as I can at the game, which is Now, again, this is people from Cleveland, but they say you can see from the body language that the players really respond to Shedeur in a way that they don't to Dylan Gabriel. Like they were like when he came in the game, the players were like, yeah. And so if that's really true, I don't know if it's true, but if that's really true, then with a week of practice, they'll play better. And the best thing that they can do, man, is hand the ball off to Quinshawn Judkins about 25 times and ask Sheduer to make, really throw the ball 25 times.
Yeah, have him really make about 4 to 6 really good, really tough throws.
Right.
I think
and put him in a position where he can be efficient and, really play well and protect him because your defense is fine.
Defense is more than fine. The defense is great. Yeah.
And so if you'll run the ball and just, think about talking about Sheduer is he's so polarizing. Anything you say, people think you're making an excuse for him, and you're not. There's not a quarterback in the league if you're consistently facing 3rd and 10 or longer or 8 and longer, you're going to be successful because the defenses are just going to bring.
They're too good.
Their exotic.
Yeah, they're too good.
Package.
Yeah,
and it's no good. So they got to win first down, being second and manageable, third and manageable, and then allow him to do what he does best, and then we'll see.
All right.
But bottom line is he's got to perform.
Yeah, but bottom line for me on Sheduer is he's got to make about 4, 5, 6 decent throws and not make a big mistake, and then you'll tell us what happened next week after you're there, and go by the Sphere if you haven't been there because the Sphere is incredible if you haven't been there.
Yeah, I've heard that. I'm gonna try to get by there.
Yeah, you should definitely try to at least swing by there. It's a pretty phenomenal thing. Now, Ohio State football, they look great against UCLA last week. They're playing Rutgers this week, which is just down the road from me here.
I gotta tell you, I had to have a long talk with my son about Ohio State arrogance because he's already got it. I called him up Sunday afternoon. I go, hey. Because it was pouring down raining at the game Saturday. I said, how long did you stay in the rain? And did you stay long enough to see the first kickoff return in 15 years at shoot for Ohio State? And that man told me, Dad, I didn't go to the game. I had a project I had to finish. I knew they were going to blow out UCLA and it was raining. And so I was like, let me make sure I do well on this project.
I respect that.
I respect it, but it's arrogance. I was like, dude, take your ass to the game.
Right.
Do better time management so you don't have to work on Saturday to get the project done.
Yeah.
Now, my project would have got a C- and I'd been at the game.
Yeah. Well, for me, my priority would have been the Ohio State game. And then I would have figured everything else out after that. So that would have been a sacrosanct 4 hours for me. And then everything else I would figure out around that. So that's just, that's just the difference. But listen, I think if they beat Rutgers, assuming they will, they're definitely in that puts them in the college football playoff. So, the question is, I think Ohio State has to start really building a crescendo start to peak. And I just don't think they've had any sort of adversity or any need to peak. And Ryan Day, the coach, is clearly holding out Carnell Tate and maybe Jeremiah Smith to a certain extent just to save them for the last regular season game, the Big Ten championship potentially, and then the college football playoffs. But they're going to have to start going full throttle at some point, and maybe you may see that for a half against Rutgers this week.
You think?
I think possibly, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's their toughest test will come. Their problem is they've been beating people so bad. Like I've always been a guy who didn't mind adversity, because I don't think you want to get to the playoffs and then this is the first time you've been down by a field goal in the third quarter, and you're like, oh my God. It reminds me of a time my son was once playing. My son played on all kinds of teams, really good teams and really bad teams. And one year he was playing on a really good team, and they got down 7-0 in the first quarter, and half the guys were like, "Oh, we're gonna lose," and I was like, "It's 7-0
Right.
first quarter,
Right.
really?"
Right.
But they had killed everybody all year,
Yeah.
and they just had no idea how to handle adversity. So I'm always about it's okay to come from behind sometimes, but if we're good enough that it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen.
Well, what happened with Penn State though is they fumbled to end the first half, and Penn State was 17-14 against Penn State, and it looked like Penn State was they had a chance. Penn State has a lot of dudes. They had a chance to come back, and Ohio State looked like they yawned at halftime and just they stepped on their throat in the third quarter, and the game was over.
Let me just say this: if Ryan Day, I'm going to say this now, will let his nuts hang, I think they'll be fine. And all I'm saying is, if he, that game, I'm not even a game plan talker, but that game plan against Michigan last year, which is, hey, let's do the only thing Michigan is good at,
Yeah,
and run right up the middle every play.
Yeah, let's do a 2-yard dive on every first
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
If now that he's won a national championship, he can relax and say, "Oh, Michigan, you've got no corners. We're just going to come out and throw the ball until you stop it, or we're going to throw to set up our run." I think they'll be fine. Now, if he comes up with that, we need to show that we're physical and this and that, and you play in the Michigan strength or you play in the Indiana strength. It.
Yeah. Yeah. I think look, I think now he's playing with house money this year a little bit because it's still Ohio State. They still have to do well, but he's playing with house money this year. And he knows he's not gonna get fired this year. Nothing's gonna happen to him this year. If they
Right.
lose, it doesn't matter, you know. And I think because of that, he's gonna play. I won't use the same, words that you did, but he's gonna play looser, let's just say, than he would
Uh,
than he might have last year. I would think, but you never know.
I would think. I think they. The reason I think they have a great chance to go back to back. I don't know if they will, but they have a great chance. I don't think there's any great teams in college football. So there's a few good teams, really really good teams, but like I don't even think the Buckeyes are great. I haven't seen greatness yet, and I got to see them play somebody better before I say their defense is the greatest of all time.
I
It
agree with
might
that.
be,
Yeah,
but I just got to see.
yeah,
And because there's no great team, there's nobody better than them. There might be some people equally as good, and so they have a chance. And I've said this very consistently, and until I see something that changes my mind, the quarterback's really good, and he doesn't seem to get rattled much, and he's been drilled a few times. And so if you got a good quarterback who doesn't get rattled, and I've never seen a young guy take the check downs as much as he does, then you're going to be in position to win.
yeah. I look at it. I think that the calculus for the national title is different now with this with the format, meaning that you have to win three. What do you have to win? One, two, three, or four games, right?
Right.
Right. Or what is it? Wait, whatever it is. You have to win multiple games, and you have to win multiple games in a row against good teams. Okay.
Right.
That's not what most college football programs do. They usually maybe play one good team and then a couple of cupcakes, and then they play, another good team.
Right.
So to me, the advantage that a team like Ohio State or Texas has is that they have far more depth than most of the other programs. All of the programs now probably have pretty good comparable starters, or Ohio State starters are
Right.
probably still better. So I think to win two or three games in a row, you're going to see the teams that are deepest that are going to run through this as much as anything else. And that's where I think Ohio State has an advantage. That's where maybe a Georgia has an advantage. And as you start to see things, shake out this year, look, I think Indiana's a very good team, and if Ohio State makes a Big Ten championship, they could very well beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. I don't think that's a crazy thing. But
Right.
I think they're going to struggle to win three or four games in a row because I just saw what happened to them against Penn State. Is they were good against Penn State, but Penn State was Penn State had players that could match up with them. And if they have to do that 3 or 4 games in a row, I think that's going to be more difficult for a team like Indiana than it is for an Ohio State or a Georgia. So I look now, and it's sort of crazy. I kind of look now and I say, those are the two teams that I think are really kind of lining up right now to potentially meet there in the national championship.
Well, that would be interesting
Yeah.
because I don't know. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see
it's a
what
long way. Ohio
we'll
State
see
could
what we
lose to
do.
Rutgers this weekend. You never know,
No, they ain't
So
gonna do that.
I
But
don't
we'll
think so.
see.
Yeah.
Hey, we appreciate you hanging with us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars. We appreciate that. And you can also feel free to type in how handsome and smart we are. That always works.
Yeah. And you just can't be a family member and do that. But in any case, well, listen, have a good. Looking forward to hearing what happens in Vegas with Shedeur. I'll definitely be watching that game, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, take care.